There we go. Hey, good afternoon. How are y'all doing? I know what you're thinking. You're like, how did he get the prime 4:10 p.m. slot at the end of the day? And I don't know. I really don't know. I guess I'm just that good. So let's get started. I don't care about that. All right. So if you're not familiar with CBP, we have a really interesting mission. A lot of people think of us kind of like just the Border Patrol or the airport, right? But it's not. There's trade, there's all the agriculture, there's a tremendous broad mission. So we secure the nation's border, and we do this. And we're one of the largest law enforcement agencies in the world. Okay, so really diverse missions, lots of laws, lots of regulations. We have trade partners, so it's not just something we get to do. So this here is that discussion. It's all over the nation, and we have the last mile discussion a lot. It's in the desert, it's all these things, right? And we have to somehow manage all these different system requirements without breaking any of the rules and making sure that we're keeping the data for FOIA requests, all these things that we do in the government, right? So we really rely on the resiliency and the scalability and cybersecurity, right? Those are our three key identifiers. But as we went to the cloud, all of those things were brought into question. So we really wanted to focus on that resiliency. We wanted to focus on the scalability. For us, if you're at the border and it takes you a few minutes longer, that's a frustration, right? But if you're at the border and you gotta wait hours because the system's down, we're on the news, right? So those phone calls aren't nice. They don't say good things about my mom. So we tried to make those things better, right? We try really hard. So that's why we went to the cloud, was strictly for these three purposes, and we really focused on this, and we wanted to improve in all three areas. That was our requirement. So this wasn't a lift and shift method for us. So under CBP, the ones who get called to that action all the time are OIT, Office of Information and Technology. I'm sure all of you have something similar. And they really do a lot of things, a lot of directorates here, a lot of different missions. We've got the application teams, we've got all our mission owners. So a lot of our folks are gun toters, they're not IT guys, and they're coming to us with a problem. You know, after 9/11, Homeland Security existed all of a sudden. So we don't have that pedigree with DOD, right? We didn't have all the background. We all kind of had our areas, but all of a sudden we had to all come together. So OIT has been doing a fantastic job at this. So who do I manage? I'm this lowly little piece down here under CME. I have a very small team. Our job was 6 years ago was to go to the cloud and do storage. Is that familiar for anybody here? Because it's easy, right? And it's free. It's so cheap, it's free. So after 6 years, we figured out it wasn't easy. A lot of people didn't like that change. We built a pipeline. We standardized on automation. We went ahead and we looked at the enterprise services. What can we build that are tools that are accredited, fully ATO'd, so that our dev teams can come up and just use those tools and be successful. So this is what we've done the last 6 years. So we really invested in this, and we had to have some really great cloud engineers to do that. What we found was that putting things in like security tools, all of a sudden things that was done way after the fact became something that was done before you started. And what they did was they started using this as like a bragging thing, right? The dev team started going, look at my scores. Never expected that. So we really had a lot of progress. Fully automated pipelines, centralized code repo, all the security tools are built in. We deploy to Kubernetes environments. We do some serverless architecture. We do a lot of different things. We have our lift and shift stuff too, but that's not our focus. What we pushed for was automation, right? We pushed for resiliency. Well, how do we do that if it's a manual change, right? So this is what we were doing. We were in the middle of just kind of going back to August. We were in the middle of the Afghanistan support, surge at the border, had two major deliverables coming out. My boss calls me and says, Kyle, we got a problem. Here's a problem over here on the right. We got a call center. Contractor is going bankrupt. You have 2 weeks. We're going to meet tomorrow with all the stakeholders. We got to figure this out. That's great. Never done a call center before. Don't know anything about call centers. Never messed with Amazon Connect before. So we all went, we met, we all talked. All of us came forth our ideas. A lot of them, because of the government, it's hard to procure things. It's hard to transition, right? There's contracts issues, procurement issues. Well, we already had a massive investment in what we were doing, right? Just kind of, let's go back. Maybe not, there we go. Here There we go. So we were already investing, right? We already created all these enterprise services. We'd already done things like service architecture and pipelines. We were already working with tons of dev teams. We'd already established, how do we establish new accounts? How do we create guardrails? How do we automate those processes with Terraform? You know, all these type of tools, control tower, landing zones, right? All these things were already done. So we had that skill, but we had never done any kind of call center. So this was that moment where we all put forth our ideas and we looked at Amazon Connect and we said, hey, we think we can do this and we think we can do it in the time frame. And they picked us, good or bad. And that's what happened. So now the reality hits. We had that call to action. We did the initial call with all the stakeholders. So we had OFO folks on. We had multiple call centers all of a sudden. What we thought was one call center became 3. Different geographic locations, different hours of operations. Some were 24/7, some were multiple hours, had to be automated. So we had this call to action. We just said, hey guys, this is gonna be rough. No formalities, 2 a day. We're gonna meet, we're gonna talk about all these things, and we're gonna go through it, right? We're in this together, let's figure it out. So this is our actual timeline. It was not a plan. We didn't say we were good at it. We didn't make any promises, our timeline. So as we went through this, we met with those stakeholders, and we started figuring out, oh, this is gonna be a lot worse than we thought it was gonna be. There's no documented requirements for the flows. We had to identify all of those day one. The legacy team, we had access to one individual who had been there some time back. But, you know, and they were very helpful, but very limited access to the legacy team. So there was nothing for us to just take and move over. We then turned around and said, okay, let's start establishing those requirements, and we really drew that hard line, right? We said, hey, what do you really need, or go dark? Take your pick, right? That's where we were. As you can imagine, hey, you know what would be nice? You know what we'd like to have? And we had to have those conversations, and we did our best. We actually incorporated a lot of new capability, but we had to find those balances for, okay, that's a release 2 conversation, right? So like we integrated with Salesforce, but we didn't do it on release 1. We did it a few weeks afterwards. So we came back here. We had to quickly follow up that now we had 3 call centers. Oh, by the way, we need multiple language support. We need automation. We need flows for workflows, so for do callbacks. When you have that physical hardware, right, for those call centers, there's a lot of proprietary issues there. It's hard and it's not inflexible. When you buy new equipment, you got to balance. Hey, is it going to work with the old stuff? Is this going to be? Is this a total replacement? So we also had the training issue, right? We have the 300 personnel that had to be trained on how to use this new thing, and how does that differ from the way I've been doing it? And the option given to us was 0 downtime. So being the normal IT person that I was, I know that 95% of our problems always come in the last 5%. So we decided 14 days was just way too much time, and we made it where we were gonna do it on day 10. Here was the whole reason, I'll be honest, so that we could fall backwards, right? We could fail back, still have the legacy system to run off of if it didn't go quite the way we expected it. Again, we're working with a lot of folks who aren't IT, right? They don't understand the complexity, and maybe they forgot a piece, right? We're working with the telecommunications teams, the phones teams, legacy teams. So we went through this. We just kept going through requirements. Now, there's a lot of parallel efforts. Srinivas is in here somewhere. He's our lead technical engineer. He was automatically creating the accounts. He was doing all that with control tower and landing zones. Again, that's what we were good at, right? We already had the guardrails. We established those things. So all that stuff was getting built out. And we started taking those technical pieces and began pushing through that. Then we came up here to the architecture troubleshooting. We got an entire 24 hours to take all of those problems that we hadn't solved, that had come into some kind of complication or a limitation, and we had to make a decision. Now, I give all the credit to the customer groups. They had to make the hard decision. We just had to implement what their decisions were, right? But this is that part where I think if you're gonna use a managed service, you have to understand that the tool isn't gonna solve the problem for you. You have effective people, it just makes them more efficient, right? The efficiency for the effective people comes out. So we were already really good at what we did in the cloud. So the decisions had to be made, we could go from there. We had 1 full day for user acceptance testing. Put as many people you want on there, bang it away, let us know what the issues are, and we'll try to solve them. Or it's next release, right? Then the final day we went to production. That was a fun day. And we went late. I think it was like 11, 12 o'clock at night, so not a lot of phone calls. So we monitored kind of hypercare for the next 2 days. A few minor issues with quality of phone calls and some other things, but all in all, full production, no rollbacks. So I wanted to show these screens. I know they're small, you're not going to see them, but they don't really matter. What matters is the flow diagrams themselves. It was interesting because, remember, we had no required documents. We had nothing there that just told us exactly how the flow was, or the flow had to be completely changed because of the nature of the system, right? So it was really simple to go in here and create the flow. Now the timing was meticulous, right? The issues with the customers wanting to have so much time to get a response back, or you didn't wait long enough for the prompt. But if you go through here, it went from really simple, we could set that up and get something in front of the customers and start kind of pounding through those issues, to very complicated. So I won't read all these to you, but we implemented agent hierarchies, multiple agent hierarchies. We had to do the multiple language. We had to do multiple queues, custom lambda functions from data from the enterprise database to kind of sync those items. We also had a lot of integration with our existing logging system, integration with SSO, because everybody we have uses PIV cards, right? So all that stuff had to be solved. Again, we had solved a lot of these things and established enterprise services before, but never in Connect, definitely not for a call center. And most of the time we work with development teams, very technical teams, right? So these are agents, very smart folks, but they're not technical. So how do we solve these issues? How do we let them understand this was on your phone system, now it's on your monitor, right? How do you go from those items? So it really was a train the trainer kind of discussion. We burned through these. We went back here, we looked at the different call flows, we had to do that. Then we realized this was gonna be a never-ending problem, right? They were always going to have minor changes. They were going to always have updates. So we automated the ability for them to implement custom contact flows. They could onboard their own personnel. It wasn't that hard, but it's something that up front we did it the right way so that the 90% of the problem went away, right? You don't need to call me if you just want to add another agent or officer who's going to now be under call center for whatever reason, right? You don't want that. I don't want it either. We have a very small team, right? We also implemented agent-agent transfer, agent queue transfer, callback functionality. They were using call queues as kind of like a hold system or a callback, so voicemails. So how do you kind of make that workflow that doesn't really apply here into something else? We implemented bots for the simple query solutions. We implemented, again, a lot of these things are available, right? But it was just, how do I take this erector set and apply it to my phone system? Right? And decisions had to be made. It wasn't a one-to-one on everything, right? So I want to be clear, but it was something that you could easily solve. You just had to have it. And so for us, the motivation was, don't solve it, go dark on Sunday. Or work with us for a solution, no arguments, you got an hour, come back. It's not something we all get the privilege of. So the bad was, we had to do this in 2 weeks. The good was, it was a really big motivator. So I wanted to show this as an approach. This was something that, as we dug into it a little bit better, and this is something that since then, a lot of people didn't believe us. They're like, oh yeah, sure, you did it. You did it in 2 weeks. But you probably had 6 months for staging. Nope, we had from Sunday to Monday. And then there was about a 36-hour period where they were still making decisions on who was doing what and the arguments thereof, which I'm sure none of you ever have that problem. But for us, sometimes that happens. And then at that time, we'd already burned nearly 3 days. So we had 11 days to actually do all the work, gather all the requirements, and implement to production. This was the key thing. When folks come to me from other government agencies, even our own DHS and other groups, this is what we talk about, is we took these kind of limitations. They weren't specific to the bankruptcy, right? They weren't specifically to the contract failure. It was specific to, these were problems that they didn't know how to overcome. And so when the contract's coming up for recompete, how do I solve these going forward? So that's your kind of stuff. That might not apply to you, but these were pretty common for most of our folks that we worked with. Then we came back from migration, and we said, okay, how are we gonna migrate this? And we just have that kickoff, that all hands. Either this is a serious thing, and we're all gonna jump in, we're gonna prioritize this, or it's not. Then just keep doing what you've been doing. Then we go on to scope, we go on to how are we going to define the first release, right? You don't need to, I think part of the problem we all run into, especially in migrations, is how do we boil the ocean? Well, you don't. I don't know where we're going to end up, but I know the next 3 things. Can we agree on those, right? And set a reasonable time period. And our general rationale for what we do for enterprise service is 90 days or less. If it's over 90 days, that's a nice thought. We appreciate it. That's a great discussion. But real stuff is 90 days or less, period. And if you can't commit to that, then it's not a priority. We worked in parallel with security. And I give all the security guys the credit for this, as anyone who's tried to get an ATO in the government, authority to operate, it's not always the simplest thing. We came back and said, hey, you got 11 days. Good luck. Now the good thing is, again, because we already had a space in the cloud, we had a trust established with security. We also had experienced personnel. We had ATOs. We all leveraged FedRAMP, right? But we all had ATOs for the enterprise architecture stuff. So like control tower, landing zones, how we implement those policies, we're already there. So we got to inherit all those same things, put it off to now how are you going to deal with Connect, how are you going to deal with the users, how are you going to do rights administration, all that stuff. What's your logs? Again, we already had a logging system. So those are things that, and we'll get to it on the lessons learned, but the biggest advice for all of this is you're going to need to invest into your cloud engineering program. You don't need a lot. So then we went over and we took all those different stakeholders, and that's us way down at the bottom. We're the CME folks, right? Then we also deal with the field management groups. That's what FNB is. There was an HRM component that had their own phone numbers, TCC, CIC, it doesn't matter what they stand for. These are all different stakeholders that all have their own call centers with their own requirements. They're used to how the physical phone centers work. How does this now work in more of a contact center? So here's what we came back with, right? One, our goal is 0 downtime. Anyone else get bit when the region went down in East? No, just me? Yeah, one other truthful person, thank you. And what the funny thing is, we actually had proposed some kind of failover, multi-region support, and everybody's like, how much is that? Oh, no, we're good. And then it went down, I was like, how dare you, right? So it was a discussion we had to go through, and again, it's a priority. Can you be down for a day or two, which is about how long we were impacted? If so, that's an acceptable risk, right? Don't get mad when it bites you, right? So you have to figure that out. So here are some of the things we went through. Customized workflows. So you get to come in and create those workflows. Now for us, we put all of these hierarchies under one instance. Now, looking back, maybe we should have split them out, right? For cost, ownership, and some other things. But again, we were in a time crunch. We made quick decisions. Not all of them were perfect. But this is something we did. Increase resiliency and reliability. We wanted to make sure that if you got this service, one, you don't call us for outages. That's our whole goal, be very clear. We don't want to be up at 3 a.m. on outage calls. I know some of y'all might love it. I don't, getting too old. Omni-channel integration. So this was a big one that no one really asked for, but man, they love it now, and they are going all out with this. They wanted to have something where you answer a phone, and this person answers that call. And they got people that are doing, hiring, they got people that are, translators, they got them all. What they loved was we can now have text. Right? We can now have other forms of communication, and we can have already a designated time to call you back, or we can text you and say, hey, you said 3 p.m., you still good for that call, versus just constantly making these international calls, right? So it really cleared up a lot of people's time. They didn't understand how much they wanted it until they had it. And then all of a sudden, it made sense to them. Then they wanted the bots, right? Then they wanted the translation. They want to understand the syntax, right? You can go all out with this, but you can start really simple. You don't have to go all out. That's kind of the purpose of meeting. So we went through some of these items. Capacity scales, you pay for what you use. I will tell you, we asked for capacity numbers when we got this, and we got 3 different sets of numbers. None of them were even close to the reality. I'll just leave ballpark numbers. It was hundreds of thousands of dollars that we were expecting to expend in the cloud, and we are not a 6-figure number. So we're nowhere near the capacity. Now, are there spikes? Absolutely. But there's spikes, right? So you didn't have to invest in this massive environment for that month or that week. You just scale up. Integrate with APM tools. So we did that for alerting, monitoring, and no one likes this one, right? If you're the folks that just have the call center, you probably don't care about this. You absolutely care when you have an outage. You have some kind of impact. A lot of times you have alerting and monitoring, you don't take the outage. Your customers never know. And that's the part that people don't understand. It's prevention for alerting and monitoring. Not always, but if you do it right, it is. Implement SSO with SAML and PivCard functionality. We had a lot of folks that were coming in and they were just sticking them on the phone. Well, they didn't like that. Now they got to have a laptop, now they got to have a PivCard. Like, well, I mean, they probably should have, right? I mean, but so now security's improved. We know who's on that call. We know who's there. And this helped them later on with reporting. So what were our results? We actually successfully did early. We did migrate all 3 call centers in 10 days. I was surprised too, but we did. It was a many hands, make light work kind of discussion. That's what my drill sergeant used to yell at me all the time, especially when we're deployed. And when I was in the Army Corps of Engineers, that was true. You know, lifting a piece of heavy equipment, many hands, light work. Remember, when you go to the cloud, that's not always true. At some point, you got to get down to that small team and give them the freedom and the space to be creative, right? Because there's 100 ways to do everything. So take the many hands, yeah, divide up the labor, but on the innovation, you got to have the smallest team possible. We all want our hands on that, but you got to pull yourself out. I pulled myself out, and you have to. Improved efficiency, reduction of labor. So we went from, I won't tell you how many because I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but a lot of folks, we're down to 1 cloud engineer. He's not even full-time. Manages all those same call centers with growth. We now have additional groups that want to have those contact centers and create it in the cloud for them. For that, we probably will have to increase some labor, but now we're talking maybe another person. Let's go crazy. Let's say we have 3 people. Improve efficiency. So this means a lot of different things. But if you want to add capability, you don't have to go out and reevaluate all the procurement cycles. You don't have to go out and compete it. You just have to have a little bit of technical knowledge to find your requirements and decide if the value of that implementation is worth it to you, right? So efficiency is there. Improved integration enterprise tools. So like I said, we did end up fully integrating with Salesforce. These are things that are work in progress. Superior resiliency, other than the region going down that we don't talk about. Operational transparency and reporting. So this was a big one. They had some types of reports. A lot of them were manual that came in, but what we wanted to do was give them the reporting. I don't think we gave them all the reporting they wanted, just being honest. But what we found is a lot of things that were probably really important on the initial conversation never really came back up again. So people adapted to the reports they had and maybe improving a little bit of capability here or there, but they realized most of that stuff they weren't really using. They weren't really using, at least at the importance they thought they were. Reduced response times was a big one. I know they'd had some issues in the past. So we're going to go through some lessons learned here real quick. And these are, I will say, high level. But I want it to be cleared. It's not the tool that made the difference, right? It was, have you put yourself in a position to be successful, okay, as an agency? And we had a lot of leaders in our organization. Our assistant commissioner, our CIO, had truly invested in the cloud and understood that we didn't just want to go to the cloud and do lift and shift. That was never our priority. We wanted to modernize application development. We wanted to create standardization and architecture. So as we went through this, we identified change is hard. I've spilled a lot of blood talking about change and how we do what we've done. You'll always hear the people, that's not how we've done it. Absolutely. But how do we invest into those engineers? Anybody here hire a bunch of cloud engineers because it's easy lately? No, right? It's hard. Oh, I got to talk to you. You come up. But it's tough to get good ones. A lot of folks want to be cloud engineers, but they don't really have the demonstrated experience, or maybe they don't have it at the enterprise level of the complexity you're working at. That's really the problem, right? They might be good in some very narrow focus and those broad skill sets, which is what it takes to be successful in cloud. You got to invest in that, and you got to take care of them, right? You got to protect them. You got to give them the freedom to be successful in your environment. Push for tools that are resilient, scalable, and cost-effective. For anyone that's go to the cloud, there's a million ways to do all this stuff, right? And if you come from a data center mindset, and I ran, so I feel like I can bash my group of engineers, I ran a data center for years, okay? But when you come from that data center, you're coming from a physical place. You're coming from a different set of tools where an agent on a box, no matter who's on that box, is relatively covered, right? In the cloud, there's no boxes. It's all temporary, right? It's all something that you're just killing off, get a new one. I got a problem, I kill it, we'll do it again, right? So push for tools that are resilient, they're scalable, and the only way to do that is through automation. So you gotta invest in the automation, which means you gotta do it the right way the first time. Because, right, for anyone that's had to implement anything in the cloud, we've all done it, it's easy to manually do that. It's easy to manually roll out those capabilities, but they're not repeatable now. They're not scalable now. And the problem is, when you roll those things out, you're going to go, man, look how great my stuff is from, Director X. And the Director Y is going to come up and like, hey, I want that too. Well, sir, you don't understand. We had to do all that. It was very time critical. We had to do it very manual. So they don't want to hear that, right? They want to hear that, hey, that's a good thing. We want it too. So if you don't invest in that automation up front, then it's not repeatable. You're going to have security issues. You're going to have complexity. You're going to have failure, especially when it scales out, right? So take those things on innovation, really prioritize that. And it's a really sacred space, right? It's tough when you have your ops team beaten down 20 hours a day to have that space left over for creativity. So you got to focus on that. Optimization. I won't say who it was because they're an influential person, but we were told when we went to the cloud was so cheap, the cost savings would pay for themselves. Not true. The cloud is only cheaper if you modernize your architecture. That's the only way it's cheaper. So there's a million ways. Amazon, I'm sure, would be very happy to have all your money and give you as many EC2s as you want. But that doesn't mean it's a better thing. If you take all the junk out of your basement and you move it to your new house, you still got a bunch of junk in your basement, right? Bad practice of the data center that maybe wasn't enforced. Bad practice in the cloud. Anybody doesn't know it? Go look at your EBS volumes. Right? Look at anybody on your dev teams that are on standalone EC2, and I bet you 80% of them are violating their EBS volumes. Most expensive storage in the world, and they got snapshots and backups from 3 years ago on there. Why? Because they did it at the data center. That's what they did. Right? And it was one of those things, and I'm not bashing them. I mean, we've all been there. Hey, it's 3 o'clock on a Saturday. I'll do that next week. And then 100 fires come up, and you don't. So you got to have those best practices, but the way you do that is you modernize. So you don't have to go clean up. You kill it, run another container, run a serverless architecture, do something, right? Modernize that system, invest in that. And if you can do it the right way up front, not only are you going to have massive cost efficiency, but again, you're going to have resiliency, you're going to have better security, you're going to be able to scale. So when all these unforeseen things came up, we were able to scale very quickly. Standardize and leverage economy of scale. This is the tough one. This is the one we all have a hard time on, right? Because here we are, we're talking about, hey, modernize, and then we build some kind of gap solution. We build something for security requirements, or FOIA requirements, whatever it is, and then it's been a year. It's been 2 years. We've all standardized. The new dev team comes in and is like, oh, I see what you're doing here. That's old. We'd like to do something new. But it also gets to economy of scale. Yeah, I can do it 10 different ways, but I'm going to take 20 times the price for it. So find that balance. Don't grow complacent, even in the cloud, but you got to find that balance, right? You got to find the balance too. We also can't stagnate on a technology. Don't be afraid to fire off companies. Don't be afraid to fire off tools. Tools are the least value. If you learn nothing else from here today, tools aren't the value, right? It's the people, and investing in those effective people. The tools just make them efficient. So if that tool is now too costly or it's not efficient, it's the wrong tool. Be done with it. Accept failure and move forward. Architect for change. I really always speak to that, so I won't beat it again. You just want to keep these things at change. We have a lot of folks that, and I'm sure we're the only government agency in the world who has spent millions of dollars on a solution, and then we're like, we're almost there. Just another year, a couple more $1 million, we got to make this happen. Do we? If we had to make that decision today, would we make the same one? Probably not. Then what are we doing, right? So don't be afraid to change. It's a tough one, especially when people have already gotten awards and things. It's a tough one. Experience in the cloud lead to additional understanding. This is something if you're a dev team, if you have a legacy IT folks at all, you have to really value this, that these are your brightest, smartest folks. And if they've been your go-to folks for the last 10 years, that's great. You know what that means? They're not really good at modernization, because they've been doing their job for 10 years really well. It's not that they're not smart. It's not that they're not capable, right? It's you're asking them to shift. If you take anything into advice, you have to also give them 100% dedication. If you can't afford that, then you got to get somebody else. If they're too critical to your day-to-day, you got to get someone else. Doesn't need to be a team of people. Doesn't need to be an entire thing. My entire platform engineering team, we have over 10,000 applications in the cloud. We have about 13 engineers. That's it. But we automate everything. We don't do lift and shift unless we absolutely have to, some kind of hybrid solution, right? Push for iterative improvements. So now you're in the cloud, you got a team that part of their stuff's all containerized, and they'll all talk about that, and then they have this COTS product, right, that's sitting on an EC2 that's always getting some kind of security findings. Is that just me? Nobody else? Nobody else has those folks? So you have to go, hey, remember when we went to the cloud and you said you couldn't do it, and it was too hard, but once you got there, you're gonna go ahead and update that? This is that time, right? When is that time? And hold them to that. Especially if you're a government leader, if you're a corporate leader, go to your technical team and say, hey, what is the get well time on this? What is a reasonable expectation? Make sure it's reasonable. Push back on that, right? And if you're the IT person that's doing that, same discussion to you. I mean, the idea, again, is get to that resiliency so you're not on outage costs. Get to that transparency through reporting. Get to that accountability and financial accountability. And if you can't go to your leadership and say, hey, look how much money I'm saving you from what we used to do, then you're probably not doing it right. So take that accountability and push for it. And that comes through iterative change, and we do it all the time. And we're the cloud team. It's really tough whenever you've got a lot invested in something, and your folks have just now gotten satisfied with it. You're like, yeah, all right, we gotta change here. And they don't like it. Managed service can save you a lot of time and effort. This is one too we struggle on. So was Amazon Connect perfect for us? No, it was not. It was effective. It's definitely cost effective. It met the need for the timeline. It does the major deliverables we needed. We've had to customize some things outside of that, right? But you can. Again, if you're investing in those folks, that's not a hard thing to do. So don't be afraid off by managed services where somebody's picking out that last little like 5% difference if you roll your own solution. Okay, what's that 5% cost you? Is that worth it? Is, $10 million a year worth 5% difference in capability? I don't know, might be. But now you know, make that decision. So have some of those reasonable balances. Also understand you can always improve upon those managed services, right? And not all managed servers are equal. Cybersecurity. So I know everybody here loves working with your security teams, right? No? Yeah, it's a tough one. There's compliancy and there's security. Those are not the same thing at all. So if you're a cybersecurity person, don't slash my tires. It's the truth, you know it. Don't wait though. And this is where I say when you invest in your cloud engineers, if you're not investing into a cloud security architect of some point, you're going to have a lot of rework. You're going to have findings. You're going to have some embarrassments. Engineers are great. We implement a lot of best practices, and that has massive overlap with security. That's a good thing. But we don't look at it from security. We look at it from best practices. That's different. So, and they have access to threats that maybe we haven't taken into consideration. So do it early. It's all going to depend on your folks. But you got to bring them to the table. You got to have reasonable conversations. All right? If they're not reasonable, that's a different discussion. Integrate with your enterprise tools. I see this a lot, where people go for a solution, it meets the capability need, but has no integration with the enterprise tools in any shape, form, or fashion. And now, well, what are you going to do about logs? Oh, we'll worry about that later. What are you going to do with, authenticating your users? Yeah, we understand. We're going to get to that. So the problem is they do the proof of concept, right? And they put the whole thing out there. Everybody buys off on it. And we're like, this is great. It's cheap. It's easy. And you left out 80% of the operational support ability. So if you can't integrate with your tools, and again, that's part of your enterprise, then you got to go create your own. That is a part of delivering that system. Make sure you take that into consideration. And again, bring it up every time with security folks. Like, hey, where's your identity management? Oh, you don't have one? All right, I got to create that. Where's your secrets management? Right? Oh, you don't have one? I got to create that. Right? You just go through it. Right? Once they hear about 5 or 6 times, guess what? Someone's going to have a brilliant new idea. Maybe we should deal with identity management, right? Or secret storage. Monitoring and alerting. Again, I'm a big proponent for this, and I will tell you, I was a systems engineer. We manage a bunch of servers. I won't bore you, but I was the guy that created the server over here on the right, that when security came in, oh, here's our server, please scan it. It was completely clean, there was nothing on it. And then I did the real job over here. Because I knew better, right? But I know no one else here has done that, but I did this a lot. Now, as official government chief cloud architect, I find a little bit different. And what I found was some of your engineers absolutely know better than us, and they're really, really good. And those people you should hold to as tight as you can. Buy them lunch, get them a Christmas card, I don't know, wash their feet, whatever it takes, right? Get it done. But for the other 95%, you have to come back to, I trust you, but I need to verify it, right? That's a monitoring and alerting. So if I see every day alerts going off one group's system, you don't have to tell me, right? I know. And I want to know before I get a call. I want to know before the customers are out. I want to know. And so a lot of times, we are the ones that let everyone else know they're having a problem with their system. So automate that monitoring and alerting. If you have to get someone to manually install an agent, never going to work. All right? You'll say it does. You can prove it technically, but try sustaining that for a couple of years and let me know how it goes. So you got to automate all these things. You got to make it where they inherit these controls. Okay? And then this becomes easy. All right? So all this takes a lot of pre-work, but I put this to you for exactly that, is if you want to be successful, you want to manage your call center. I've worked with many folks who tell me, hey, we've only got a year to get this new system out. And I go, oh, then you got plenty of time. Like, oh, no, we only got a year. We did it in 10 days, but we built our cloud environment over the last 6 years. None of that was really helpful, but the learning experience, the skill set, the investment in standardization, the standardization in our ATOs and our automation and all of that documentation established trust, so it streamlined every conversation. Now all we really had to deal with was the actual problem, right? So that's my time. We got about 14 minutes left. I just wanted to leave a little bit of time for questions and answers. I'm not a very smart person. I just fooled all of you guys with these slides, I assure you, but I'm happy to answer some questions. I know they have a mic coming around. If you don't ask a question, I have to point at you and call you out. I'm just kidding. But feel free. Also, if you want really, really smart technical questions, Srini Voss is back there. I'm going to point you out, Srini. Stick up your hand. He's the technical engineer who took all these efforts. We did work 20 hours a day, 7 days a week for 10 days straight to get this in place. It was not easy. I know everybody hates the mic. I got it.
Once you moved to Amazon Connect and overcame the initial hurdle and met your deadline, what other decisions did you make in the following months? Did you move on? Did you stick with your choice?
No, we absolutely did.
Yeah.
They're still using it today. Okay. So if you call any of our CBP help desks, it is all on Amazon Connect. What I will tell you is what we really have to work is prioritization and say, oh, you want 30 new things? What are the top 5 of those? And see, that gets to be an argument, right? But tell us the top 5 and let us see where we can fit that in with everything else we're doing. So having some dedicated resources and preparing for that helps you with that because that's their full-time job. It wasn't our full-time job. It's something we picked up and did. Sorry.
Did you run into any challenges with procurement or contract vehicles?
We did not, because we already had a procurement in place for Amazon. So we leveraged that for everything we do in Amazon. Now, when you get into labor, you get into licensing. If you're going to use tools, that's a different discussion. But for us, again, we were already prepared. We're already in the cloud. We already have a large procurement with cloud services. And we're across many platforms. Amazon is one of them, right? So, no.
I'm over here. What advice, I'm over right here.
There we go. Sorry, thank you.
What advice would you give to someone who is still, they don't have the extreme timeline that you were working on, and doesn't necessarily have that trust of their stakeholders to get them to the point where they can agree upon what requirements are actually necessary and what problems they actually need to be solved up front?
So your technical people will hate me for this, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you. I could give you some silly answers, but the truth is stubbornness and persistence, and you have to define scope. Technical people hate that, right? Because they don't know yet. And just like us, oh, we had one call center, then it became 3, then it became multiple languages, and then, oh, we need callback flows, oh, we want a bot. I mean, the scope is always going to go out of control. So define the scope. Is this a 2-week effort? That's a reasonable discussion, right? 32-week efforts might not be reasonable to your timeline. But it's very different when someone's like, well, can we just do this one thing? And that's a 6-month effort. And oh, by the way, here's how much it's probably going to cost you, right? If it's all customization or something like that, right? So I would say define the scope. You don't have to have dates. Just come up with, you can get t-shirt sizes, right? You can get back to that if you want to, but you got to define the scope so they can look at that and balance their decision making. I asked for top 5. You'll never get 5. But then you can get them down. So now when they're getting 25, they start feeling guilty, right? But if you give them a top 10, they'll give you 100. So.
What was the legacy PBX or phone system that you migrated off of? And then was Amazon Connect able to provide all of the feature functionality benefits of the legacy system?
Well, let me answer your first part by saying it's a great question. I have absolutely no idea what the legacy system was. I know it was a physical system. I know it was in multiple locations. I know they had a tremendous investment of millions of dollars into that system, tens of millions. What I will tell you is Amazon didn't provide anything for us that's not already available. Okay, so we went out there and used the service, and then we had to customize some things. Like we created some custom random jobs, right? We did some integration with our tools. So there's a bit of customization. You don't have to start there though, right? We had done a very tiny, when I say a proof of concept, someone asked me about it, I gave them access to an account and they never looked at it, right? Because again, it's the motivation. I don't have time for this. It's a nice idea, I'd like to look at it, but what's my motivation? So I would define the motivation, right? Motivation can be cost savings. It can be, hey, we want to get out of this in a year for contracts. We want to evaluate multiple opportunities, but you shouldn't have to wait for failure to do that. And I know in the government a lot of times we unfortunately do. It works, we got other problems, leave it alone, go on to the next thing. But if you don't invest in innovation, you're not going to be able to play catch up later, right? Sorry, were there any other questions? No? All right. I appreciate all your time. Thank you for putting up with me here. I know this was a super good slot at 4:10. Thank you. Appreciate it.